And thank you, Karina Graham, for joining me on the podcast. It's very much appreciated. I've been so looking forward to speaking to you. Um, your story is, I think, an inspiration in this day and age, especially in 2025. And the way, as a man, I view the world going, which is not necessarily in a good
Yeah.
direction. I think it's getting better, and I think stories like yours and people like yourself, if your story gets amplified as much as possible, it kind of provides a positive spin on what I would necessarily perceive to be a negative sort of industry or a negative world or a negative view on women in 2025. So for those that don't know who you are and those that don't know what your story is, a brief introduction about who you are, where you're from, what you've done, and um, who you are now and what you're doing now.
Okay. So my name is Karina Graham. I am a repo agent full time. I live in Florida, but I have been delivered from addiction and the adult film industry, aka OnlyFans, a radical encounter with Jesus and the supernatural. So I'm really excited to share it.
And that alone, I think I've not really seen that sort of deliverance element, which I've seen over the past probably 6, 7 months, ever since what happened with Charlie Kirk. I've seen a massive resurgence in sort of Christian faith and almost like a doubling down of people, more so in the public eye. It might have been happening behind the scenes, but very much on social media and in the mainstream media, there's been a massive sort of resurgence of Christian faith.
Yeah.
And I think we were just talking then about the Chosen TV series, things like that have sort of come through, that have really sort of had that resolve for people to kind of feel like it's okay to believe in
Yeah.
Jesus and in God again, and rather than being labeled as a kook and a bit weird and out there.
Well, it still comes with that,
Obviously, it
but
always will do. But
yes.
I think if, well, put it this way, if it is labeled as a bit out there and a bit kook, it'd be better to be a believer in Jesus and follow the morals of the Christian faith than it would, in my opinion, to be an OnlyFans creator and,
Yeah,
in essence, go down that route. It's by far the better of the option, the
definitely.
two options. So obviously, we're going to start at your beginnings of your journey and what led you into that sort of path in the initial instance, because obviously repo agent is sort of um, a necessity in
Yeah.
my opinion. That's your day-to-day job. That's what you
Mhm.
need to do to survive, to earn money. Everybody needs to do something.
Yeah.
um, what led you down that sort of path of OnlyFans or adult film industry? What appealed to you, or what ushered you towards that route in the initial instance?
So I never liked it. Like I was very against it. After COVID, when everybody was trying to figure out how to make money from home and OnlyFans kind of started blowing up, I was very much against it. I was one of those guys that was like posting on comments, like talking smack about it. Like I didn't, I didn't think it was good. Yeah, I wasn't brought up that way. Like I feel like the Holy Spirit has always been with me. Like I've always had Jesus. I just didn't know because that moral compass that I had, I didn't receive that from anybody. That was
Mm.
something that I just knew right from wrong. And now that I'm like reading the Bible, I see that I basically knew the Bible my whole life without ever picking it up. So I really didn't like OnlyFans. Um, I was a repo agent back then. I had just started, and at a car show one day, somebody had said, "Hey, if you're a good-looking female in the repo world, you should start a TikTok because it'll blow up." And I was like, I was against TikTok too. I didn't have um, and so I was like, I don't know, whatever. And I made it. Like a couple weeks later, I decided I'll just give it a shot. And my page just I don't know. I figured it out. I figured out how to work an algorithm and make trending stuff and all that. And in 3 months, I had 300,000 followers on there.
Wow.
Yeah. And at that point, the business part of me started crunching numbers. And I was just like, well, if, you know, even just 500, subscribes, I could
Yeah,
make
yeah.
it money. So, but I had 300,000. So like the odds were in my favor there. So one day I just was like, I'm gonna do it, and I'm just gonna keep it more modest, like bikinis and stuff like that. Um, in the first week, I made $15,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So it was,
like dream sort of money. And yeah, it's and I know where you're going to go with this, and I'm going to let you get there. But it's like it's sort of everybody will listen to what you've just said and think, oh, $15,000, that's awesome. But then obviously that comes also with that cost
yes. So
attached to
following
it.
Satan costs you something, just like following Jesus costs you something.
Yeah, definitely.
But Jesus is the better option. So through and through.
so so obviously if you've made that in your first week, what, and then I'm presuming it sort of snowballed from that point of
Yeah. It was a lot to run the page by myself all day while I was working, but I saw the numbers and I was just like, I have to figure this out. Um, well, I worked night shift back then, so it wasn't that hard, but yeah, so I just kept pushing it and making more content and trying my best to get this going and staying, because I saw it as a get rich quick scheme and then I was just going to like shut it down. Um, but at the end of the day, the money was really good and I never did that. So I just kept going on with it. And then over time, the subscribers fall off, they get bored, especially if you're just doing bikini stuff. Like a lot of the guys that were on my page from the beginning, they just wanted to get to know me. It was like, um, what's it called? Like a VIP space to
yeah, yeah, yeah.
interact with me. It wasn't so much about the X-rated stuff. But when they started to fall off, I had to figure out how to get new subscribers, and I had to like get more scandalous as time went on.
Yeah, I think that's the sort of slippery slope with a lot of things, and especially when money's involved, is that sort
Hmm.
of, and I've seen it, with starting the sort of podcast journey, and this has sort of been a massive step away from what I did as a profession for 17 years. I did
Hmm.
construction for 17 years. That was what I sort of grew up in. I ran businesses
Yeah,
in, and it got to the point where that wasn't ticking the boxes for me anymore. It was paying the bills and it was doing okay, and it just got to the point where it became depressing, and it
yeah.
was sort of when you
Listen,
can't.
you're preaching to the choir over here. I
Yeah.
understand.
And I mean, obviously I'm not trying to compare construction to the adult industry, but I'm just
No,
saying
no,
it's
I'm
that.
talking about my actual blue collar job right now. I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, this
But
is.
it is it's sort of, and I had a spiritual experience. I went through psychedelic therapy,
Mhm.
through mushrooms, and I did
Yeah,
a course, and I, not to make you feel jealous, but I met Jesus.
you
I
did.
did. I never met him. I never saw him, but he was there in a sort of 5 minutes of a 5 hour trip that I had, and it was that specific session that sort of sparks not necessarily my belief in Christianity or Catholicism or
Yeah,
religion per se. It made me believe that there's
it,
something
it
after
it
death.
sparked your faith. It sparked
Yeah,
your
and
faith.
it's that sort of um, what I so I grew up quite strict Roman Catholic,
Mhm.
I went to mass every single Sunday. I went to confession every single Wednesday and said
Mhm.
5 Hail Marys, and I was absolved of whatever bad thing I did.
Yeah.
Um, I was an altar boy up until the age of 12. So I wore the white robe with the red rope and carried around the cross in front of the priest before mass and all that sort of stuff. And then I got to sort of the age of 12 and 13 when you start figuring out your own sort of belief systems. And I thought,
Yeah.
this is all horseshit. I don't believe in any of this. This is just weird. A man in the sky and his son, and there's a cross, and I walked away from it. And for a long time, I was sort of, yeah, this is it. You get one go round, and once it's done, it's done. Then obviously you go on your life experiences. I moved to the States. I lived in Africa for a while. I did all the bits and bobs that I wanted to do. Had a relationship where my my daughter was born, which also then changed me. As soon the minute she was born, it was sort of like, right, I'm not a boy anymore. I need to sort my life out and become a
Yes.
dad and a man, and then um, life experiences sort of happened that broke me down to the point where I needed to go to therapy and I need to rebuild myself. And psychedelic therapy was one of these things. And what happened in that session was I came out of it thinking, holy shit, there's something in everything that I sort of learned growing up, whether that be through the
Mm.
Bible or the scriptures or whatever religion. You know, I've read the Hindu Vedas and so on and so forth, and Buddhist teachings. There's something in it because I've seen it, I've experienced it um, in real life,
Yes.
or in my own head to a certain extent. So I've experienced it. I know it's real, and it kind of reignited that faith
Yeah.
element to me.
Mhm.
And part of what, bringing the point full circle, part of that sort of rebirth was I needed to follow what my passion was, what my purpose was. And I've always my missus will tell you, she gets bored of me now because I like to talk to people, whoever they. I'm one of those people that if you're in a queue, I mean, over in the States, it's like the age old. Over here, it's the post office. Over there, it's the DMV. I'm the sort of person that will talk to the person next to me in the queue and have a full blown deep conversation about politics or religion or whatever it may be because I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Um, and things dropped into my place, and this is where it's led me in terms of starting this podcast. Um, and I think that sort of element of the money coming into any passion or any person's life can cloud and can skew your view to the
Mm.
point of it blinds you to things and blinds you to um, what your mind's already telling you and warning you about.
Yeah.
Is that what you sort of found out in terms of the amount of money that was coming through to you from this platform? Was it easier, made it easier for you to turn a blind eye to what was happening?
I don't think so.
No.
No. It was OnlyFans was extremely difficult for me. It wasn't
Okay.
like I mean, I can't speak for other girls on there but I've met a few of them that just that's their identity and that's how they act even outside of being on the platform.
Hmm.
Um, for me, it was extremely difficult. It was like I was actively fighting conviction like the whole
Okay.
time. So I would do it because I needed the money because at some point I started to get things in my life like a apartment, a car, like I had to pay bills that a repo job couldn't pay.
Hmm.
Um, so I had to do it. But it was always a constant just like friction. Like I was just I didn't want to, but I had to. Um and so I worked under an agency. After the first year, I got involved with a couple different agencies over time for the last portion of me having the platform, which made it easier for me to do because like I was just not the good fit for OnlyFans, like at all. I couldn't like dirty talk. I can't say certain words. Like I can't even type certain words out. Like it goes so against my heart posture, like my whole life. So I was just like, I need to hire someone to do these chats for me because these people are saying things I can't even. So, so I hired some agencies and it helped me continue to do it without having to engage that much with anybody actually at all.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I would just make my content. I would do like on a Saturday, like a weekend, I would make a bulk content, send it over to them and said, "You take care of it." Like that's it. Um but it would be like 1 month I would go really hard and I would just like, oh, I'm gonna make a bunch of money this month, like blah blah blah. But at the end of that month, I would fall into this super deep depression where I could not even think about making content. And then my agency would be getting mad at me because I was like ghosting them. But
Mm,
I literally would just get so depressed for months that I couldn't talk to anyone. I couldn't do content. I just didn't, I wanted to shut my brain off. So I would just like, ghost everybody until, the spark. Really, it was a cycle of like, pressure. So it would be like, okay, this is good. Now I'm comfortable. I can last a few months without doing it. And then I'd have like a few bucks left in my account. I'd be like, oh, gotta,
yeah,
flame
yeah.
to the fire. Like, let's go. And then it would just do that all over again. So
I think that speaks to a lot of people. Not necessarily, I'm not saying everybody's in sort of an adult industry or whatever, but I think a lot of people work jobs. Like I said, I did for 17 years, and it wasn't a bad job, and I
yeah.
enjoyed it to an extent. But it was when you mention that sort of constant friction. It's
Hmm.
I guarantee 90% of people that listen to this podcast will be waking up on a Monday morning and be like, oh, I can't be bothered to go to work today. I don't want
Hmm.
to go. I hate the people that I work with. I hate the company that I work for. I don't like the job, but they've got to do it because they've got bills to pay, they've got a family to
Yeah.
provide for, and so on and so forth. And I think that sort of cycle of money, it is money in a sense that is forcing you to sort of go forego what your passion is or what your purpose is, or even sort of taking the time. I've been very very lucky with my partner. Is I've had sort of 12 months to sort of figure out where this is where this has sort of come from, is the fact that we haven't wanted for anything. We've been, we're quite well off. Don't get me wrong, we're not
Hmm.
sort of impoverished, but it was the sort of, there's not many people that get to have that 12 months to sort of, and I've done bits to earn money, and so I trade on the markets and things, and but it's given me that time to sort of step back and really assess where oh, that's my sign gone. Sorry
That's
about
weird.
that. But it gives me time to sort of assess where I wanted to go in life, and I think that's the sort of thing that people lack
Yeah.
in this day and age. So you go from this cycle of 3 months of like, yeah, now you can live your life and do what you want to do. Oh no, I've got to dip back in and make some more money.
Hmm.
and and this was the point that I was so waiting, and it's only come 20 minutes into our episode, is the fact that where I can see the start point, I can see the end point of where you're at now, or the point of where you are. At what point did it change? Why, like, what happened in between sort of you starting and getting an agency, and it seems to be working for you, even though you've said you've got this friction? What changed or what went on within the time period from then to you thinking, that's it, I'm completely done, I'm out of this, I want to delete it all, and Jesus is your savior, and away you go? What I'm so interested to find out what happened.
um so yeah, I got the age. There's something I wanted to bring up in the middle there. I don't know.
It's okay, I'll come back to you.
Yes. Started, oh yeah, so I remember. The first, I want to say like year and a half, 2 years or something, before I moved to Florida. I'm really bad with like um time frames. So if my times don't match in your head, it's because they're not in mine either.
Don't worry.
Well, I had someone on Instagram ask me the other day, like, if you relapse on this day, but you said it's this long ago, like, that doesn't make sense. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
kind of missing the whole point of it.
yeah,
It's like it doesn't matter when or where. You're
yes,
kind of missing the whole messaging point. Don't worry about it.
exactly. I
I'm
was
not
like,
that
that's
bad.
such a weird, what an odd thing to say. But anyway,
Yeah,
I don't know. Anyway, so a couple, like a year and a half into it, I was still in Massachusetts in an apartment in my first ever apartment. Like I've never moved out of my parents' house before this point. Um, I got into a relationship with some guy that like it only lasted a little while because when you have an OnlyFans, the relationship is really difficult unless you have someone that's like down.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
like they'll say yes, they're down in the beginning, but then it'll be like they'll switch it up and be like, yeah, I don't like this.
yeah.
So so I got into this relationship and I've always loved really hard. So when it didn't work out, I fell into like a super deep depression. Um and at that point I think I took some like edibles or something. Now I had 8 years clean off of heroin and all that. 7 years, 7 years clean. Um, and after that, I was just like, so like, I hadn't been going to meetings or anything in a couple years. I didn't really have friends or a community or that, like, it was just basically make money, hang out with this guy. And that was that. Um, so when we broke it off, the enemy started telling me that I'm not good enough. I should just go end it, like all these bad things. And after I got through that depression, my friends from the Cape, which is like super far away from where I was living, but they were my motorcycle buddies. We'd go to group rides together. They told me they were moving to Florida. They were gonna go to Daytona. And for years, I had been saying that I wanted to move to Florida. So I was like, this is the perfect opportunity for me to at least get down there. And the repo company that I had been working for, they had an office in Jacksonville. So I thought I'd go because I had quit. I quit,
Yeah, yeah.
but I went back and I was like, I'm gonna go back and then just move to Florida and then I'll have a job set up. It'll be great. Um, I think at this point, I was already kind of considering getting rid of the OnlyFans. Okay, so this
Okay.
is,
So
uh,
it's in your periphery. You're thinking
yeah.
about it at
I
that
was
point.
like, this
Okay.
isn't fun. I'm never gonna find a husband this way. Like it was just like, yeah. I think at that point is when my mind started to like,
Yeah,
want to detach but not really know how. So I got to Florida with all of like $4,000 to my name. Um, and it ended up I had to pay the moving company all of that to get my
yeah.
stuff to Florida. I lived with my friends for about a week before we got into an argument and then I was like I'm just going to leave and then I was on my own again. That's when I was like okay, I have to hustle again. Like I need to figure this out because this repo thing's not going the way that I want. I had a feeling that I was going to get fired.
Hmm.
Um So I reached out to one of my girlfriends that also had a very successful page, and she sent me to her agency. I got on board, and the first month they brought me from $9,000 to $30,000.
Wow.
So I was like, all right. So I stayed with them, and because I did that, I was able to move to South Florida and get my own place. At this point, making content, I had to have alcohol in my system. Like I couldn't do it sober anymore. It was something like I needed to numb myself because the kind of content that I was making became very extreme. And for me to be able to do it at all, I had to be drunk or well, actually drunk because I wasn't doing anything else. But
Mm.
So it was like I had to have my glass of wine to loosen up a little bit and be able to do it. Um, so that was like that lasted like a year ish. Again, don't quote my times.
I'm not gonna nitpick the times. Don't you worry.
It lasted like a year ish, whatever. Um, and that was when I'm gonna back up. So I got into a relationship when I came to South Florida. Didn't last very long. We were drinking a lot, fighting a lot. Um, but while I was in this, while I was in this relationship, and this is why the power of life and death is in our tongue, right? And our words are extremely powerful. And what you speak, you will receive,
Yeah, yeah,
whether it's from heaven or it's from the kingdom of darkness. It will come because they're both listening to your prayers. And if one of the prayers is a destruction, they're gonna take it. They're gonna run with that. And so when I was with this kid in this relationship, he would ask me, what do you want to do tonight? Like whatever. And I would jokingly, like totally not in any way mean it. I would say, let's go do cocaine. Right.
yeah.
And it was just like a joke. Like, we were both in recovery. He had a few years longer than me. Um, and I'd be like, yeah, let's do cocaine. It was like my answer. I don't know where it came from, but that was the answer that I was giving him. And then a year later, I moved into my apartment. I was in my apartment in Boca for 6 months or something. Or no, maybe longer. Like I said, I'm
I'm not gonna quote you. Don't worry.
lying. I was headed to Daytona Bike Week to meet up with those friends that I moved down with. Um, I got into the elevator, and this guy that I had never met before gets on the elevator with me, and he's like super excited to see me. Like he was like, "Whoa, I've never seen you before." Like I don't know. But it was nice because I've been so alone and isolated for so long that to have someone even like call me pretty in person or like get excited that he'd never met me before, it kind of like, sparked a little twinkle in my eye. I was like, okay. So he wanted to hang out. The following weekend we hung out, and he kept offering me cocaine, dude. Like a year before I was saying, let's go get cocaine, let's go get
The
cocaine.
temptation.
Yeah. So he was offering me cocaine. I said no. I said no. I said no. Um, and then when he left my apartment, he left the bag on my counter. And
It's so. I one of the my friends he's a world renowned hypnotherapist, Nico. He's coming up on the pod relatively soon, and he deals with a lot of cocaine addiction.
mm-hmm,
And the thing that really he'll laugh when he listens to this because it really pisses him off is these predatory behaviors from dealers in what
mm-hmm,
they what they're doing is they're getting what he's found is they're getting sort of sweets for these people's children, these recovering addicts children. They're getting sweets and putting bags of cocaine in the sweets. Oh, go give them to your dad and this that the other. And it's like when when I hear stories like that from him, and when I hear sort of what you've just mentioned, it's whether you believe in religion and the devil, or if you're or if you're Muslim and you believe in jinns and so on and so forth, is
those steps with the cocaine was Satan ordained. He had been
yeah,
watching me, and he led the whole thing. He made it happen. And
that
it just
temptation is so brutal to the point where and the fact that it comes through humans as well, in terms of that's where this sort of it's not sort of any sort of divine intervention or anything. It's humans that are actually behaving in this manner, tempting you into things that you know are bad for you, that you are recovering from.
yeah.
um so yeah, so I'm presuming at that point that
Well, so by him leaving it on my counter, it now became a secret. Like I could do it after 8 years clean. I could do it and then not tell anyone and keep my clean time. So I was like, okay, we'll just see how this feels. Um, I did it. and I honestly didn't like it. I just wanted to clean my apartment really, really like intently. I was just like, this stinks. Like, I don't like it.
This,
The next,
the thing with this is what I've never, don't get me wrong. I've been there, I've done it, and when I, there was years where I've been out on a night out with friends, and it was, you know, alcohol and cocaine. That was the
yeah.
sort of two things, and then through education, I discovered how fucking dangerous that is. Mixing
Mm,
alcohol and cocaine together makes a completely different substance, which is called cockathylline, which is
yeah.
one of the most potent depressants known to humans.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and I think now I look back on it, and I think this it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. There's nothing in it. It's boring. If anything, it just makes everything go really fast. It's like having three Red Bulls, one after the other, and ultimately you wake up with a sore nose, a sore throat, and it's there's no real joy from it. It's just almost like a socially accepted sort of party drug that's not really a party drug.
Especially down here in South Florida, it's like anywhere you go, you can assume that someone's in the bathroom with it.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Oh, you hear it. It's like a cacophony of sniffs in any
Yes.
bathroom that you go. It's just, it's like an
Yeah.
orchestra of sniffs left, right, and center.
Yeah, so he left it. I did it. I honestly really didn't like it. So I was like, you know what? I did it. I'm just going to move on with my life. This is where it gets even like more insane because I went to work the next day. I didn't think about hitting him up or getting more at all. Um, on the following Tuesday, he left some under my doormat outside my apartment. And he kept doing that. It was like two or three times in a row that he would do this throughout the week to get me hooked on it. Um, and of course, it's free. It's under my doormat. I just got home from work. Of course, I'm gonna do it. Like, and
Yeah,
yeah. So the first couple were free, but then I had to start paying for it, and it was either with money. Like I had money for it. Like I wanted to pay, but he didn't want the money. He wanted, the other stuff. So
yeah,
it was just like, and then towards the end of this whole thing, like this lasted like 2 months. He wanted both. He wanted all of my money, and but he saw me as an easy target. I was alone. I was a girl. I didn't have friends, family. I just had my dogs, and I had an OnlyFans, which to him meant money
yeah.
that he could take. um where were we going with this?
So I think in regards to sort of the addiction and the sort of deliverance from that
Oh,
element to, yeah,
right.
go on.
My radical encounter.
Yes.
um yes, so 2 months this went on. Now I was not a sniffer. I was an IV user. So
Okay.
that is how it got really, really bad towards the end because I was like a skeleton. I had bruises everywhere. um it was really terrible. So April, I had relapsed in April, and then May is when it started to get consistently like really bad, and I got fired and rehired and fired and rehired from my job like 20 times because I kept saying, "No, I'm going to stop." Because I wanted to stop. I really
Yeah, yeah,
did. But I was in the grips. I was in the middle of it. And so I would be whenever I got fired, I would end up going back home to see my family and trying to get away from the drugs and the person. But then I would end up in that apartment again when I got back. So it was just like like a terrible cycle. Like I couldn't get away from it.
mm.
Um, in May, after coming back from one of my trips to see my parents, it was sorry, it was a Sunday. It was a Sunday night. Um, I had just gotten rehired, so I was supposed to start again on that following Monday. And I relapsed again. Like I got more and I did, I was spending thousands of dollars on this
Yeah,
stuff. Um, And what happened was I did too much. I did too much in one shot, and my heart essentially stopped. That's
Wow.
the only explanation that I have for what happened, because I have never really shot pure coke alone. Like it was heroin and coke, speedballs or something, but I've never shot that much cocaine. So I essentially my heart like stopped. Um, when this happened, I had died. My heart stopped. I was dead. The Lord had sent me to hell. He allowed me to see the path that I have chosen and where it was going to send me to eternity if I continued. And all I can say is it's just like consciousness with without God, without anything. It was just like a black abyss of nothing, just darkness. And it was darker than this riverside screen right now. It was like black, black, black. I could hear demons all around me laughing because they were so happy to have me down there. It was disgusting. I'll never forget their maniacal laughter. It was just so like appalling. Um, and I couldn't move. I couldn't move. I was like, either they were holding me down or I was chained or something. Um, and then what would happen, this is the part that is very difficult for me to explain because you don't see this on earth. It's a it's a spiritual supernatural thing. But so I was in this black thing abyss, and my thoughts would turn into an image made out of knives, like blades. But these blades were like electric shock, um, like they were made out of electricity. They weren't actual blades, but it was just like kind of like a video game would have, like,
Hmm.
those zapper whatever. So my first thought that I had down there was elephant. I don't know why. I don't know why I was like elephant. But then this image of an elephant made out of these electric blades started to like pummel me. Like the blackness turned into a hyper speed tunnel, and this elephant came at me and cut through me, and I could feel the pain, but I couldn't move. And the more that this went on, the more I would think, because you're like, ow. And then like more thoughts would come, and then more images would come. And it was just the horrible torture. It was awful. But in that darkness, I heard a voice, and that voice said, "You can wake up now." And when that voice came through the darkness, the demons around me, their laughter trembled. They were shaking. You could hear the brokenness in their voice. They were like afraid. They were so afraid. And then that's when I woke up on the bathroom floor. When I
Wow.
woke up, I still thought I was dead. I got up. I wasn't sure if I was alive or not. I walked around my apartment. I thought I was in some kind of weird time lapse thing where I wasn't really there, but I was. It was just weird. And so I walked around, got back to the bathroom, looked in the mirror, and I had blood on my face because I guess when I fell, I cracked my face on the countertop. And at that moment, when I saw the blood, I realized I was alive because dead people don't bleed.
Don't bleed. Yeah, that's generally a good sign of somebody
Yes.
that's dead. Yeah.
So that was the whole thing. And I was involved with new age stuff before all this happened, like a lot of Reiki, a lot of self exaltation. And we believed that when we were praying and when we were performing healing services and all that, we were praying to our higher self, so our higher consciousness.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when I first came out of this, I actually went to see my shamans right after, because I was like, this is crazy. You're never going to believe this, like to get some insight. um and we came to the conclusion that it was just my consciousness, my higher self, my higher consciousness, that told me to believe in yourself and you will wake up. And I ran with this for a little while, because I didn't have another explanation. So after that event, that the boyfriend I had, that like right before the cocaine relapse, he
Yeah, yeah.
actually kidnapped me from my not I would he took me from my apartment like willingly, but not actually kidnapped me. Um, but he took me on a road trip to go back to my parents' house. And I am so grateful that he did that for me because he took me away from the situation. And before we went out on the road trip, he took me around South Florida so I could put in some applications for a place to live. Because if I went back to my parents and then returned to that apartment,
It was
it
the
would have
same
just started all
cycle.
over. So
Yeah.
I sent in some applications. I fell in love with this house, and like I still planned on doing OnlyFans so I could afford it. It was $4,000 in rent. So, but I didn't foresee shutting down my platform for a while. So I went to visit my parents. I stayed there for about a month, but while I was up there, so I had connections in the Narcotics Anonymous community. I had a sponsor and stuff from my earlier years. And I reached out to my sponsor, and she took me to a community church. And I had been to this church before, like years ago, but I never experienced what I experienced this time around. Like, I just didn't get it. I've always been a very philosophical and logical thinker, so it was
So
difficult for me to.
with the community church, it just obviously coming from the UK and stuff, is it because obviously in America, I think a lot of people in the UK and a lot of listeners in the UK have sort of the sort of gospel church in terms of
Yeah.
America in their mind, or sort of the big churches in New York and stuff. In terms of a community church, is it sort of Christian and sort of it's not like evangelical or anything along those lines. It's just sort of
It's just Christian, and I think by community church, it's just non-denominational. I think it's just a
okay.
Christian church where you learn about the Bible and worship God. Just
Yeah.
pretty basic stuff, but it's just like come one, come all. And that church was I love the pastor over there. He's in recovery as well, so he's really cool and down to earth, and you can kind of yeah,
He
you can
gets it.
he gets it, yeah, and he prayed over me. Like, I had gone to church before when I got clean 10 years ago. Um, but it never clicked. Like I said, logical, you can't be logical when you're walking in faith. And I would just like talk myself out of it. Like,
Hmm.
Jesus, like I couldn't even say Jesus really. We'd be in church and we'd all be like, praying and whatever, and I literally couldn't say the word Jesus because I did not believe at all, but I went because I was desperate and seeking something greater than myself.
Yeah, yeah.
And then eventually that's how I got into Reiki. um but so he prayed over me on a Wednesday night, and this was the first time in my life that I had actually recited the salvation prayer where you surrender your life, repent for the sins, accept Jesus as Lord. I'd never done that before. I still didn't believe in Jesus when I did this. I had no religious background at all. I was just like, this isn't going to work. Like, literally,
This
that's
is
what I.
another thing that's not going to work. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, this isn't gonna work. But I was so broken, so lost, and so desperate for something to heal me that I gave it a go and went to church. And I think I went again Sunday. I went every week with my sponsor while I was up there. Started to learn the Bible, and he was just so good at explaining stuff. Um, and I just kept going, and I even asked. This is another crazy thing, is like I was like, where do you have any recommendations of churches in Florida I can go to? Like, it's so wild. But he did, and it was actually only 20 minutes from my new house. So I started going when I got back to Florida. I was reading my Bible every day, not understanding a lick of it because I was just like, I was.
It's not an easy read, is it?
It's
It's not
not,
like
but I
no.
was doing it because I was told that even if you don't understand it, it's still going to be absorbed in your spirit, and eventually revelation will come. And because I read it, the Lord was able to speak to me. Like, I got my job back at that same repo company in December. And once I started back at this job, I had already made the decision that like I'm gonna shut down the OnlyFans. I was just very afraid to do it because of my bills. Um, so I was waiting for the way to be made apparent to me. And I was learning how to trust the Lord fully with everything and have faith that He would carry me through. So I was in this process of like sanctification and all that, and learning the Lord and His heart. That first week in the truck by myself, the Lord would talk to me all day long and tell me all of the answers that I to the questions that I had about what happened and what it meant and all this stuff. So, and it still comes, like there's still stuff that he'll reveal to me like now, like later on, that I wouldn't have understood back then. But that's when I found out, like, oh my gosh, I went to hell. Like,
Hmm.
those were demons, and
So
that
so
wasn't.
so you didn't sort of figure out. Obviously, when you were mentioning about, you didn't really figure out that's where you'd gone until later down the
Yeah.
line, right? Okay.
Yes, because so I was staying in my word. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't so I didn't believe in Jesus so much that I didn't believe in hell. I just believed in nothingness. Like I was like, okay, you die and you go to sleep. Like that's it.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
so when all that happened, I'm like, it couldn't have been hell because I don't believe in hell. So that's kind of where it came from. And then the Lord was like, no, honey, like you died, you went to hell. That's where your life was going. And then I was just like, when this came to me, I thought back to his voice when he said, "You can wake up now," and I started crying.
Hmm.
I cried and I cried and I cried because I was a sinner. I didn't believe in him. I rejected him my whole life. I rebelled against him. And yet, in the darkness, I was sent to the pit of hell, and he still came and rescued me. Like, he didn't have to do that. I was not anybody like worth saving. Like, I didn't follow him. I didn't believe in him. Why? you know, he came back
It's
for the one out of the 99.
it's a difficult thing. I think for don't get me wrong. Like I've mentioned, I'm not. I wouldn't say
Yeah.
I'm overly religious. I'm not one for scripture or anything along those lines. I don't. When people mention like Mark 3:40 or whatever numbers, I have no fucking idea what anybody's saying at that point.
It's okay.
But in terms of, I think you kind of touched on it, and I want to touch on a few points. But the first one in terms of Reiki, I before how long will it be? About 6 years ago, 7 years, no, yeah, 7 years ago. So just before I met my fiance, I experienced Reiki for the first time. I have really bad. I have crisp or potato chip packets for knees. You would call them. I
Okay.
have crisp packets for knees. They don't work anymore. I've got no cartilage. They creak and crunch, and it's horrible. So I generally just live with pain in my knees all the time, even though I still do sport. And one of my friends, Joanne, is a Reiki master. I didn't know what this was at the time, and I didn't know
Mhm.
and it was all a bit Mr. Miyagi for me. And for those that have not watched Karate Kid, of the younger, it's the sort of clap,
Wax
rubs
on, wax
hands,
off.
and the energy. And she said, "Look, I can perform Reiki on you now, and it'll help." And she did it. It was probably 15 minutes, if that. It wasn't long. And for the first time in about 10 years, I stood up without any pain in my knees, and I was like, nah, it's psychosomatic. I made that happen because I
Yeah.
believed it was going to happen. That wasn't,
Placebo.
yeah, that wasn't you with your energies and stuff. It was nonsense. Something's happened. And lo and behold, she told me, in a couple of weeks it'll wear off and you'll have to come back and we'll do it again. And in a couple of weeks, lo and behold, the pain started returning. And I was like,
See, that's the thing with Reiki because it's not coming from the ultimate power source. It's coming from the enemy, and he wants you to keep coming back to him. So it's
it's
temporary. They'll heal you, but it's temporary, and it might even get worse after. And then you go back to see the person and pay more money. It's like,
Well, it's straight. What that did is it triggered that sort of belief in sort of, oh well, the
yeah,
this. there's something untangible that I can't put my finger on, that's immeasurable, but clearly it works.
Mhm.
I've experienced it firsthand, and I
Yeah.
think, like you mentioned, with understanding the understanding of where you went when you woke up on the bathroom floor and so on and so forth. That sort of came later on. Do you think sort of the experience that you'd had with Reiki understood? You kind of subconsciously knew about sort of these energies and the different sort of spiritual elements within um
Um,
religion.
honestly, I didn't know anything about the demons. Like,
Mm,
we talk to our higher self and angels, what are they? Guardians. I can't remember what they're called, but it's just you're speaking to essentially holy spirits, um, and then also people that have died. So, if your friend dies and you're upset and you go to a shaman, they might see your friend and make you feel better.
yeah.
Um, but it's a demon. But I didn't know any of that. Hey, you shush.
I think, yeah, I mean, I've seen it recently, and I don't know whether there's anything in it. But have you seen the Teslas that are driving through the cemeteries and the graveyards that are seeing spirits and or seeing people? On the heads up display, the seeing sort of people within the cemetery that aren't obviously there. It's really freaky, but
You.
it for me, that sort of, understanding the that there is these otherworldly forces, and there is this sort of ether that people can tap into, um, whether it be for good or whether it be for bad. I'm a firm believer that it's there because I've experienced it
Yeah,
myself.
same.
Um, whether that's Christian, whether that's Muslim, whether that's Buddhist, Hindu, Judaism, I don't know what it is, but it is 100% there. And they're probably all right within a sense, because they all believe sort of a similar sort of story in from my understanding. Um,
Well, the other ones are just so, like, there's Jesus, who's the truth, and then the other ones come in because the enemy wants to keep us from Jesus, so he's gonna make similar modifications to other faiths and stuff so that we can stay away from the one true God who is Jesus.
Yeah,
Uh,
but this is what I've never understood. So, I was speaking to one of my friends who's Muslim, and he was saying, like, you know, I, this is what I can't grasp in terms of Jesus is a very important figure within
mhm,
Islam. I know that for a fact, and
mhm.
the only difference from what he's told me, so this is secondhand information, so don't blame me, um, is they don't believe he was crucified, and they don't believe that he rose from the dead, which is almost the cornerstone of the Christian
Yeah,
faith.
that's the whole thing.
The resurrection is, but they do believe that he was a very, very important prophet, and he spoke the word of God, and so on and so
Mhm.
forth. And it's like what we were talking about before in terms of somebody listening to your story and saying, well, if you moved out at this time and you moved back in at this time, then your timings are slightly off. And it's like, no, you're missing the fucking point. That's not the
Yes,
point. The
that's
point
not.
isn't, yeah, that's not the issue. What you need to look is at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, which was quite, and obviously I'll let you carry on with the story soon. But I don't want to forget, and I picked up on it because it resonated with me when you mentioned the enemy,
Hmm.
and when you mentioned, I in is that in regards to the depression and the enemy within your own head that sort of tells you, or tempts you in terms of what to do, and with when the cocaine was there.
Well,
Um,
so the enemy is behind anything that is not going to be of God, of course. So it, when we talk about my thoughts, this was another piece of the revelation puzzle that was given to me by God afterwards, when he started to reveal to me that I had descended to hell and that those were demons and whatever. My entire life, my thoughts were my biggest struggle, my demise, right? The thing that put me in situations I shouldn't have been. So for me to go to hell and be tortured and tormented by my own thoughts is just like so coordinated, because I do believe that hell is going to be different for everybody that goes there, depending on your the life you lived, the sins you were committing, what your weaknesses were. And so for me, my own mind was where they.
I don't mean to smile. I'm not smiling because it's fun. I smile because it's very similar to my own. Um,
Yeah.
I had Jehovah's Witnesses knock on the door
Uh-huh.
a few months back, and I'm like I said, I'm the person that will talk to people in the queue at a post office or whatever.
I do
Um,
that too.
I'm like most people. They'll have gone knocked on 200-300 doors that day, and they will maybe have had one person speak to them, and that person was myself. And I had them at the door for over an hour,
Nice.
and they were really lovely, and relatively old. And the lady was talking about, it's God or Jesus's sort of mission to create paradise on earth, and so on and so forth. And myself, my thought process, similar to what your thought process was then in terms of your own kind of personal hell, is
Mhm.
I said to the lady, forgive me, I can't remember her name. I don't think she'll listen to the podcast, to be fair, anyway. She was like late 60s, early 70s. And I said, well, my idea of paradise, I think, I'm pretty certain, would be completely different to your idea of paradise, because I'm 30, late 30s, you're late 60s. I'm going to want to sort of go, extreme sports might be my idea of paradise. And I don't think necessarily you want to be on a surfboard or a snowboard and going down a mountain at sort of 40 mile an hour. That's not your idea of paradise. So I said, do you not think it's our job as humans to create our own paradise here on earth in our own image,
We are.
to sort of
Well, in the scripture, it says one of the prayers that we're supposed to do is, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So we are called while we're on this earth and alive to make paradise, to bring heaven down to the earth.
yeah,
But the paradise piece where we all go and have eternal life, it's eternal life without mourning, without sadness, without sickness, without death. And we all have these kingdom jobs, like,
I love this. One of my friends, Erica, who's been on the pod. She's a psychedelic therapist in California.
yeah.
She's so cool. I've known her for 17 years, and
Mm,
she was saying one of her favorite programs is the Good Place,
I
which
don't
is
know.
sort of it's basically Kristen Stewart, and she dies and she goes to the good place, which is heaven.
Yeah.
And everybody has a job, and everybody has to do a certain job, and it's almost like sort of run as a business, and
Yeah.
it's a satirical but a really good sort of view.
I saw a post on Instagram not that long ago where it said, it was a carousel post. So the first picture was like, when we go to heaven, we're all going to have, our kingdom jobs that we do for eternity with like a smile on our face. And one of them was like a gardener, you take care of God's plants, like all that stuff. And then the next one was, teacher. And then one of the slides, listen, one of the slides was animal caretaker, and it just shows like some lady with the lions and like brushing its hair, and I started crying. I was like, because I'm such an animal lover, I was like, Lord, tell me this is true.
Please
And
be.
this
I want
was,
to apply.
yeah. I'm like, you hear my application right now. I will serve you like
I will brush the lion's mane, and I will do all that.
yes.
Yeah.
If that's what I'm going for, then you know what? Sign me right up. Oh
so
man.
so how just to sort of like so I was segueing, then it's my fault. So in terms of you've moved back down to Florida. You're in your new apartment, and you have found your church, which is 20 minutes away from where you
Or
go.
half
And
an hour. I'm not good with time.
yeah, it doesn't matter. It's close. It's close. It's within driving distance.
Yes.
Um, what from that, and you got your job back with the repo company, and you're already thinking at that point, right? This is I'm closing down the OnlyFans, and like you mentioned, you are apprehensive based on the financial
Yeah.
aspect. What what pushes you over the edge? Is it purely I mean, pushes you over the edge of closing it down and
Okay, so I had that experience with God and going to hell and everything, and he started to reveal these things, which solidified my faith, right? So I was starting to, well, not solidified because it was growing. It was like
yeah,
growing
yeah.
in faith. All of the doubts that I had throughout my life started to peel off, and my faith would grow, my trust would grow. And listen, the Lord was on top of it. Like this whole time, he saved no time in showing me that he was real, because I believe that the call on my life, he needs me to have unshakable faith in him. Like he needed me to be solid with him and trust him fully to be able to use me as a vessel in the way that he wants. So, I mean, I don't believe that newly transformed Christians that just come to the faith go into it at such an accelerated rate with such a connection to God as I did. And that's not to like gas me up or toot my own horn. It's just I took it very seriously. And
I think I think as well, to add to that, it's like we've already mentioned at the beginning. Like in terms of socially,
yeah.
I've struggled. Like I had that experience probably 4 years ago, 3 years ago, um, and it's taken me up until probably this last 6 months to I knew what had happened. I
Hmm.
remember exactly where I was. Like I came, I so in the sort of therapeutic setting, you have an eye mask on, you have your headphones on, um, and you lay still and in a blanket, and you're all cuddly and warm, and that's the way it goes. And I remember I remember waking up instantly, and I was in tears, streams of tears of joy at the time,
Hmm.
because it was like, and excuse the French, but it was holy shit. I've been there. I've seen it. I didn't think it was real. I've just fucking experienced it.
It's
It was
very
there,
real.
and
You should start reading your Bible, mister.
it was, but then from that point, it was like you said, in terms of socially, you kind of think, oh, that wasn't right. No, it's not that. It can't
Yeah.
be that. It's nonsense.
Yes.
I walked away from that long ago. Blah 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 blah. But I had, for the past probably 4 years previous to that, I'd become very spiritual, and I believe in sort of universal energies, and um, surrendering to the fact that there is a plan, or there is
Hmm.
some sort of order. You've just got to sort of look for the signs, and
Oh man.
look for the
Oh
synchronicity within.
no. I think you're gonna turn Christian after our podcast here. I'm gonna
I,
I'm gonna
I,
talk you right into it.
and to be honest,
Divine intervention.
I think I think I can't get on board with religion. I can't do it, purely based on the fact that, um, in my belief, religion is created by man,
Yes.
whereas belief and faith is created divine.
Well, if you
Complete.
take the word religion out of it and you just seek the relationship with Jesus
I
and
can one.
profess Jesus to be Lord.
I can 100% get on board with people that do that. That is fine.
Yes.
It's I've been to the Vatican. I've been to St. Peter's Square.
Yeah.
I hated every single second of it because it just doesn't feel right. And the reason why it doesn't feel right for me is you're walking up from Castel Sant'Angelo, which is the resting
Mhm.
place of Hadrian,
Okay.
and there's beggars and homeless people on the street as you walk up to the home of the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And then you walk in, and there's gold statues here and gold statues there, and
Yeah.
billions of pounds. But that, hang on a minute, there's Martha back here that doesn't have any home, any food, and where
Well, I think
you're
I
teaching us to love each other, and yet she's there and gonna die soon because you want another gold encrusted statue up there of whatever,
so
and
that's like
that's
the thing.
religion to me.
A lot of people say that about Christianity too. I mean, it's a dicey place, but if you find the right churches that do move in the right values that are biblical and the principles and the law, um, and and don't flaunt gold statues and Rolls Royces in the in the parking lot.
That's the thing, and the papal bubble car and all that. So, and
Yeah,
that's
but
the thing for
so
me.
the the difference between like religion is just based on traditional values, like
Yeah,
you're going through tradition, you're doing things out of what's the word, it's just a tradition, it's a
it's like almost ritualistic.
ritual, that's the word I was
Yeah,
looking for.
and
Yeah.
I did
um
it. I did it recently. And sorry to cut.
no, go ahead.
The so I went to a christening recently, which was my niece,
Hmm.
and every with it, like it was the first time I'd been back in church for a long time,
Yeah.
and I still know the creed, and I still know that because obviously it was ingrained into me for 12 years of my life. Um, and
Well,
to be fair,
I'm not familiar with like other churches. Like for
no, I
Catholic church, do the mass? Is it just they read out of the Bible, like,
no, not really. So
uh,
so you get
and then you have to stand and sit and stand and
yeah,
sit.
and kneel and stand and sit and kneel and then stand and sit and kneel, and
Yeah,
it's like, the whole thing of the Lord be with you, and then everybody goes, and also with you, and it's like it
it's
is
very
really
cult
freaky.
kind of. Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, very cultish.
yeah,
And then everybody sings a hymn together, and it's like, di- objectively, standing outside looking in at this is really strange behavior. Like,
yeah.
this is not normal.
It
It's
is
not,
strange.
and that,
So I would encourage finding a Christian church.
yeah, but I think that is what most people, when you talk about Christianity and following Jesus and giving your
Mhm.
life to God and so on and so, that's what people think about. They think about this almost cultish
Yeah. And
sort
I
of
think that was
practice.
where I was at too, because it was just weird to me. But yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously, going back to the story, you've decided to cut it off, and
Not yet.
not yet. Go on.
I haven't physically cut it off, but I was mentally preparing and understanding that, because so when I got saved, I was planning to do it for 2 more years, stack up as much as I could, and then shut it down with enough to, like, be comfortable.
Okay. Yeah.
But the Lord had different plans, because it was like I would be having this sense of urgency inside of me that it needed to be done now. And it was almost as if he was telling me, Jesus is coming back tomorrow. You need to delete this, like, immediately. And I was like, I can't, like, I would be fighting with him, like, I can't do that. Like, how am I going to support myself? Like, blah, blah, blah. And then it took time to understand that I had to surrender it to him and trust him, right? So I was trying to do it in my own strength, and I couldn't find the answer to that. Okay. Um, but so what happened, so I'm building my faith, da 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 da. In November, right before I got my job back, I got baptized. And
Okay.
during that baptism, I believe that I was delivered in that moment, because I came out of the water crying like never before. I had so much fear and anxiety going in, because I knew that my whole life was going to be flipped upside down once I come out of that water. It wasn't just, I'm going to take a bath right now. No, it was like a covenant moment for me, because I had been reading the word and understanding it for once in my life, where I understood the true meaning behind the baptism. So when I came out, I was crying. I hugged this lady for like 27 minutes, I don't know. And then I got viciously attacked by demonic powers for the next week after my baptism. Just like the Bible says, Jesus got baptized, he was tempted in the wilderness 3 times by Satan
Hmm.
over that course of 40 days. Um, that happened to me. And I was just like, what the heck? Like, there was one night after my baptism, I was up until 6:30 in the morning because I could feel and I could see the shadows around my room. It's like they were waiting to devour me. Like, it was literally like ambush in my bedroom, and I would have panic attacks for 6 months following my event going to hell. I was afraid of the dark. I couldn't sleep with the lights off. So at this point I was like still afraid, and I'm like trying to barricade myself in my bedroom away from the spirits, but like they can come in because they're spirits. So um
Yeah, shutting the door doesn't work.
yes. So I'm like moving my furniture, trying to block the doors, thinking it's gonna be safer, but it didn't. Like, yes, but they brought so much fear into me that night that I was up all night long, and I had to go to work the next day. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Never mind. I did not have to work the next day, but I was up all night, so I think I slept the whole day. The whole day. I wasn't working yet. This was like still November. But what happened was I wasn't my foundation on the rock on Jesus wasn't formed yet. Like I hadn't understood the authority I have in Christ. Like I didn't understand the power of the Holy Ghost. Like I didn't understand these things to where I would be confident in a room full of demons.
Hmm.
And so what happened was the demons saw that as weakness, and they were able to talk me into temptation, and I did relapse on cocaine again. I had like 3 months off of it. Um, but the presence of the darkness was so overwhelming that I just gave in. And so I relapsed, and the same thing happened, although I didn't die this time, but I did almost just enough to where I felt that I might leave my body again. And I was like, no, no, no. I laid back on my bed, and I actually could see, but I felt it was more of a feeling, but I could see the image of a disembodied spirit, a black figure, come from the wall where they were all standing, but I only saw this one. He came from the wall. As soon as I fell back on the bed, he was like, "You're mine." Like it was just so crazy. So he flew into the air and then entered me. Okay, this is where demonic possession happens. Okay, so he entered me, and in that moment, like it felt like a weight, like a weight just like took over, and I didn't like it. So I cried out to God. This was the first time that I've done this while I was high ever in my whole life. And this is because I had been reading the Bible and understanding and learning. And so I cried out to God. I said, God, I don't like this anymore. Please make it stop. And within 5 minutes, now listen, this is cocaine. All right. You don't fall asleep when you do cocaine, especially
Oh
not
no.
the amount that I did. In 5 minutes, I was asleep, and I woke up 5 hours later, sober, 100% sober. And that kind of like it was just like a faith, um like a solidifying experience that God is here and he's listening to me. And it was just like, okay, I went to hell. I'm like, walking along, kind of, fighting my own thoughts. Is it hell? Is it not? Is it hell? No, it is hell. And but then the demon would, like, Satan would be like, no, you're wrong. God doesn't exist, and like stuff like that. So I was like walking this path, trying to figure it out. And then this situation happened, and I believe it happened like God is intentional. It happened for a reason, and it was to get me on that faith track with him, because there is no explanation. There's no medical reason for me to have fallen asleep.
Mm.
So I came out of that, still had an OnlyFans. I think I had been going to church for that whole summer, but I still had my OnlyFans bio in my Instagram for a while, because like I said, I was still trying to learn and kind of understand things. Like I was a Christian. I believed in Jesus at this point, but I still believed that I could have an OnlyFans and believe in Jesus. So that was the part that was like the Lord was working out in me. Um, so there's a lot of juicy pieces to my story that kind of I want to share. So I got baptized, I relapsed, and then the Lord delivered me from that. I went running to church that Wednesday, and before the service like fully finished, I ran to my pastor's, him and his wife, and I said, please pray for me, like desperate, like the lady with the issue with the blood, just desperate to touch the garment. So I was like, please pray for me. And I didn't tell them why or what or anything. I just said, pray something, because I didn't want to bring up that I had relapsed. I just wanted people to pray for me. And I didn't want the unnecessary doubts or worry from other people around me to cause friction in my recovery, because I knew what I experienced, but other people aren't going to know what I experienced. And the fact that I experienced that was the last time I was ever going to get high.
Wow.
So,
I love that you mentioned the story, and for those that don't know, the woman with the blood in, like, the way that they shoot that in the Chosen TV series is
yes,
like so good.
exactly how she was acting was how desperate I was
And it
to
and
go up
it's not even, and it's almost like in the series, for those that haven't watched it, and spoiler alert, so switch
there.
off now, is it's not, she doesn't want to meet Jesus, she doesn't want to speak to Jesus, she just wants to touch his clothes. That is, she just wants to touch him to
Hmm.
see, just through pure faith, that she will be healed. And in the series, in the episode, she manages to touch his robe, and instantly Jesus stops and knows that somebody's of
Yeah, the
faith has
power
touched
left
his,
him.
and the
Yeah.
power left him. And it's so well done. um and and I suppose it's almost like it's a real good example of true faith and true belief in whatever it may be, whether it's Christianity, Islam, or whether it be, faith in something else, whether it be sport, if football's your religion, that sort of faith, that pure faith that something's going to happen, and it happens, it only reinforces that faith
Yes.
even further.
So that's what
um,
that's what happened. And when that happened, I just wanted to keep it to myself, between me and God, until like I wanted to get some time clean again before I started to talk about it. Like I didn't plan on lying or hiding it. Like I was gonna bring it because it's a very substantial part of my testimony. But it wasn't the right time. Was not like immediately after it happened, because people worry, their doubt sets in, and it causes kind of a difficult scenario to be in. So that happened, and I got prayed for, and that was like the turning point for me on what I was going to do with my life. I went through my entire house. Any clothes that didn't glorify God, they went in the trash. Any crystals I had lying around, my Reiki master certificate, anything that had to do with New Age stuff, Buddhism, all in the trash. Thousands of dollars of crystals, but I was like,
oh, there's some big money in crystals.
yeah. And I did not, so I was like, I could sell this and make some money and be able to save it. But with the faith that the Lord has placed in me, it was like, I'm not giving demons to somebody else. So I just threw it all away, broke them, whatever. Secular music out the door. I only listened to worship. Like this all happened because of that experience with the relapse. And then the next few months from December to, I believe, February, um, I was getting attacked. Because remember, I said when I relapsed that I felt the possession happen. It
Yeah, yeah.
entered me. Right. So that I believe I was delivered in the baptism, but he regained access when I relapsed. So he came back in, and he started to torment me while I was sleeping. So I don't know if you've ever had or heard of sleep paralysis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard of it. I've never had it, and it is, by all accounts, one of the most terrifying things ever.
Hmm.
There's a film, actually, and I don't know whether it's necessarily based on sleep paralysis, but I think it's the guy that plays Anakin Skywalker. Is it Christian Anderson? Is it? What, I think that's
I
his
don't
name.
know.
But basically, he's awake in his body, and he ends up going for an operation. But he's awake, but people think he's obviously under, but he's paralyzed, and he's
Yeah.
basically he's got to go through this absolutely unbelievable ordeal of basically getting operated on whilst he's fully awake, but he can't do anything about it. And I think that must be so terrifying. I'm
Yes.
presuming that's what you went through.
I wasn't on an operating table. No.
Luckily.
I at this point I believe I had removed my Twitter and I had removed the link from my Instagram because I was like I started to get connected to God and the reality of the demonic realm. So I was like, I don't want to cause anyone else to sin. If I went to hell and a demon entered me and all this stuff happened, like, I don't want someone to go on my Instagram and click that. That's in my church. Like, that was something that really bothered
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
So that's why I deleted it. Um, and so for the next few months, from December to February, I was struggling with sleep paralysis, and the closer I got to Jesus, the more often they would occur. It was like really, the enemy was really trying to silence me and throw me off and kind of break my faith. But I knew the truth at this point, so it was actually kind of fun to battle these demons in the spirit because um, basically what would happen because I had sleep paralysis the first time I had it. I believe I was like 8 years old in my bedroom. I didn't know what was going on, and and then whenever I would like have times in my life where I was getting high or whatever, they'd come here and there, but it was never consistent. So for these couple of months, it was like every other day I would be going to sleep for taking a nap or going to sleep at night, and I would be attacked in my sleep. I wouldn't be able to move. It would feel like I was being choked or taken advantage of or just silenced altogether. But the name Jesus would make them flee. Like in this sleep paralysis, if I said with my mouth or even thought it, because sometimes like I did have one of the times this happened, he put his hand over my mouth to try to keep me from speaking. So I would start thinking really hard that Jesus is Lord. And I would say, Jesus is Lord. I'm a child of the Most High God. You cannot stay, blah, blah, blah. They would get so pissed. Like I would feel heat all down my body and then they would run. A couple times I would open my eyes and I could hear their footsteps running out of my house. And then, like in February, the last time that this happened, he tried to choke me out and cover my mouth and stuff. And I started doing that same thing. I professed the name of Jesus and everything, and he got pissed. He left, and in my this dreamland, my spirit woke up and started like dancing around, like like mocking the demon. It was great. It was like the best experience. But the closer I got to my deliverance from this demon, the more intense and desperate these sleep things would occur. I got rebaptized under Apostle Daniel Adams from the Supernatural Life. He operates in the gifts and power of the Holy Spirit, and I got rebaptized for a couple reasons. Impartation. I'm under new leadership. I'm in his ministry now. I had to wash away that relapse. Like I
Mm-hmm.
had to go back under and re sanctify the covenant with the Lord. Um, After that baptism, a week later, the Holy Ghost met me in my room, and like Jesus literally entered the room. Like I couldn't see him, but I could feel him because I was delivered. Like he led me through an entire deliverance on my own in my bedroom, and the I had been on sleep medication for a lot of my life. I took Ambien. This particular day, I got home from work. I was getting ready to go to sleep. I had my pill bottle in my hand. I was opening it, and Jesus said, "Don't take that tonight." And I was like, "Well, that's scary." I'm like, "That's scary. I'm not going to sleep. I got to go to work tomorrow." But I was like, "Okay, I'll surrender. I'll obey." I put it down. So I'm in bed, tossing and turning because I can't fall asleep. Jesus says, "Turn on the song Yeshua." I don't know if you know that song.
I don't
Um,
know.
okay. It's my like I have two songs that I love: Jesus We Love You and Yeshua. Yeshua is my deliverance song because they play it at the Supernatural Life a lot, and it helped me with my deliverance this time. So what happened was I listened to Jesus on both accounts. I didn't take my sleep meds, and I played this song really loud in my house. That's the great thing about having a house and not an apartment, because you can do that. So really loud, and I'm laying there on my pillow, and there are signs that you can look for when someone is demonically possessed and a manifestation occurs. And what happened with me was an involuntary jaw movement. So I was laying in my bed, and my head kind of perked up listening, like I was just really absorbing the song Yeshua. My head popped up and my jaw went like this, and my discernment that the Holy Spirit had been building up in me was able to, discern that that was a spirit. So I started casting it out. I was like, "Get out in the name of Jesus, get out in the name of Jesus." It was a whole exorcism. Like when I tell you this thing manifested all the way out of me, I was writhing, my back completely arched. I was hissing, I was screaming, and at the end I let out like three very long, very loud screams, and that was the point that the demon had left my body. So all of this deliverance happened after my baptism, and when I had deleted my OnlyFans, like a couple days before the baptism, I deleted the OnlyFans, got the baptism to wash away OnlyFans and the relapse, and a week later was when the deliverance happened. So when you think about OnlyFans being demonic, like I'm a living, walking testimony of this actually being true. Like I cannot make this up. Like people will tell me I'm making it up, but I experienced this stuff. So
I
when
think that's the thing. Obviously, I'm listening to it, and I've not experienced anything like that. And
Mhm.
I'm a massive movie buff. I love movies. And when you were mentioning it, the first thing that came to my head was Constantine with Keanu
Yeah.
Reeves. I love that movie. Um, and it is, if you like action movies and stuff, it is quite religious at the same time.
Yeah.
And relatively accurate in terms of certain elements. But I think I've not experienced anything I would necessarily attribute to religion or Christianity or what most people would attribute to Christianity or religion. But I have experienced things that are otherworldly beyond. So
Mhm.
I've explained this before. I can't remember who I've talked about it on the pod, but obviously I haven't mentioned yourself, but it's yourself. So my experience of who I um, believe to be the figure known as Jesus.
Mhm.
Now, I wouldn't necessarily call him Jesus. I wouldn't. I didn't see him, but
Yeah.
so the whole thing was white. So it
Mhm.
was just a white space, like you mentioned in terms of when you walk up on the
This
bathroom
is
floor. It
black.
was black.
Black. Mhm.
This was just pure white. So it
Yeah.
was almost like
Beautiful. I wish
I
I would
think
have seen that instead, but
um, and it was somebody mentioned. I can't remember who it was. Who was I speaking to? It might have been Michael. But the scene in the Matrix where Neo and Morpheus get loaded up into the space where it's all white and there's the two
I
chairs.
don't
It's like
remember.
that. It was that sort of white room, but I
Yeah.
couldn't see anything. Um, but I felt somebody pick me up off the floor to my right hand side. That was the figure that I thought to be the Jesus figure. And in front of me in an arc was everybody that I'd known that had passed on, that had died or moved on to the next place. And there was not a word spoken, there was not a sound made, there was not a thing to be seen. But the feeling was, oh, thank God you're here. We've been waiting for you. And it was at that moment when it was like, holy, that's when I woke. That's when I woke up
Yeah.
into
I find it
that.
interesting it was an arc. There's probably significance to that.
Yeah, and I think the thing for me experiencing it was the fact that that didn't come from me because I wouldn't have,
I think the funniest part about all of this is that you gave him the name of Jesus, but you still don't understand that it was.
No, because and this is the thing is the fact that growing up as Catholic is like, you have this image of Jesus of
Mhm.
robe and beard and hair and this, that, the other. And I've watched like so many movies. Like there's a movie with I can't remember for the life of me, but it's a young boy that had a NDE, a near death experience, and he passed over, and it's based on a true story. And he saw and met Jesus, and he met his sister that had passed away during childbirth, and so on and so forth. And he came back to life, and he was telling his dad, and then his dad kind of got fascinated by it, and there was a little girl from Russia that had a similar and painted the man who she believed to be Jesus. She painted him, and the little boy saw this on TV or on the internet and said, "That's the man that I saw."
Oh my gosh, stop it.
It's such a. I'm gonna have to find the movie because it is, even if you're not religious, it is a phenomenal movie. And it's
Well, the thing about what I went through, I've done a couple podcasts since then, and there was one particular podcast that I did where they had mentioned they had other people on their show that had also died and experienced hell, and they also described it as just super dark blackness.
it's
So
strange.
it's very
It's
interesting.
it's strange. The movie's called Heaven is for Real.
Okay.
It's a 2014 film. It's about a young boy who has a near death experience during surgery and claims to have visited heaven. The film is based on a true story, and it is. I remember watching that and thinking, you don't know how much artistic license has been taken and so on and so forth, but the fact that it's based on a true story and the fact that there is so many of these stories that you hear about and stories like yourself, that if they happen again and again and again and again and again, they
Hmm.
can't. It's almost like the opposite of definition of Einstein's definition of insanity is like doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Is the fact that
Yeah.
if they're happening again and again and again, then there's got to be something in this. Regardless of whether you're religious or not, there's something there, whether that be something with the human psyche or consciousness, or whether that be something spiritual or
Hmm.
otherworldly. And obviously, like I said, I've experienced that. So when you're talking about it, the reason why I smile when you're talking about demons is not because I'm demonic. It's because I'm like I kind of know what you're talking about. At the
Yeah.
same time, I've had an experience where I've seen through the eyes of what I believe to be a demon or a jinn, which was from Muslim tradition. The jinns basically, which is the being that God created before He
Uh,
created humans, um, and
yeah.
they are the ones that possess humans to make them behave badly, to look bad in God's eyes, to prove that they were the better creation rather than these humans that
Hmm.
God loves. Um, and I've been seen through the eyes, and they hunt at feet level and literally pick the person up through the nose, and that's when I woke up. That time, that was before I had the experience of this white place, and these things haven't sort of come from me; they've happened to me, and that's similar to you. In
Yeah.
terms of you know, one time you can probably imagine, oh yeah, I could have made that up because I've got an imagination and this happens. But the fact that it happens multiple times, and the fact that you haven't sort of um, thought about this hasn't been so. It's been like almost a gradual progression of putting you into these places rather than you consciously thinking, oh, I'm going to go to sleep tonight and think about demons. That's not the way it sort of worked. It's just sort of happened
No.
to
So
you.
what happened with that stuff is the Bible being the word, the truth, and it feeds your spirit and starves the more. It's like that thing they say about which wolf you feed is the one
Yeah,
that
yeah.
live. So you're either feeding the Holy Spirit or you're feeding your flesh. And by reading the word, you're feeding the spirit. So what happens is the spirit begins to come alive within you, and that's when conviction on sins happen and your flesh starts to die. So by reading the word for that extended amount of time, that few months or whatever, then when I get baptized, I believe I was definitely baptized in the Holy Spirit at that moment. So I was baptized, created covenant with the Lord, and then I also started to completely alter my entire life, what I saw, like what I listened to, what I spoke. I didn't swear, I didn't watch TV, I read the Bible. Like, I kept my life very clean. And when I started to do that, when I was attacked by these demons in my sleep, I was able, my spirit was awake, like it was awake within me. So I was able to consciously start, you know, Jesus is Lord, get off of me, Satan, like all this stuff while I'm sleeping, which is amazing. And it also is such a like it's a defining factor to Jesus being the Lord. Like the only way that I have ever, since I was a little girl going through this, the only way I've ever been able to wake up from a sleep paralysis episode is by saying Jesus is Lord and I'm a daughter of the King.
It's a strange, and I think, like you've mentioned, regardless of whether you know being, I probably it might be an apt choice of words, but playing devil's advocate in terms of if even if this isn't true, and even if everybody's faith is misplaced and the whole
Yeah.
Christian and religion thing is false, the results of it. So the way that people live their life
Mhm.
believing in religion, the way that people live their life with Christian values or
Well, at
whatever it
the
may
end of
be,
the day, the atheists are the ones that,
and
that
this,
you
it,
either live and get eternal life or nothing happens after, and that's fine. But if Jesus is true and real and you go about thinking it's not, you burn. So,
yeah, and I think it's one of those where live and let live, but the results speak for themselves in terms of the fact that you're a perfect walking example of the fact that you know regardless of belief, your belief system, the way you've been able to recover and change your life
Mhm.
can only be viewed as a positive thing. It can't be
Mhm.
viewed as a negative thing. And if God and Jesus was the catalyst for that, then that's a good thing. And you mentioned it in terms of OnlyFans being demonic,
Yes,
uh,
100.
and and
I also have deep belief and um, I could argue that drug addiction is also demonic possession, but the demons hide behind the drugs so they can get away with it.
well, this and I'm presuming. Well, I know for a fact because it is quite widely known that sort of industry and drug use kind of go hand in
They go
hand.
together.
Um,
I'm
and
still working on the whole the operation of the kingdom of darkness and trying to figure it out. Um like I said, the Lord gives me these revelations over time, but it's definitely connected. I think if I was going to make an explanation right now, I would say that one of them is an access point. It's the entry point for the demon, depending on which one it is comes first.
right,
And
so if you either start OnlyFans and then go on to drugs, or you start drugs and then end
but
up
I
with
do
it, yeah.
think I do think that a demonically influenced individual will eventually, if they don't, you know, figure it out, will eventually go into alcohol or drug abuse at some point because or some kind of mental illness where they have to take prescription drugs because like you said earlier, these disembodied spirits, they like to live through us so that they can, live out the life that they lost through our bodies and if they can hide behind a mental illness or a drug addiction, like the way that when I would do the Coke glass, the cup, whenever it was, um, the same way that I would act while I was using, was the very same way that the deliverance, when I was delivered from that demon and I was hissing, and I would be flicking my tongue. He was a serpent spirit. Um, those two things happened the exact same way. I wasn't able to walk. Like I would be like falling over and like really demonic, like it was crazy, and hissing and flicking my tongue when I did too much drugs. Then I get delivered completely sober and he manifests in the same way. So they're definitely connected here. I can see that it's just a way for, because if I tell somebody that, oh, I was hissing and blah blah blah, they're just gonna say it's drugs, like you were
Yeah,
high,
yeah.
you know? So that gives the demon an opportunity to
I'd
exist on this planet.
I'd be lying if I didn't think, if it didn't cross my mind. The way I think, and the way, I'm a very critical thinker, and I think it's one
Hmm.
of those, the story that if I hadn't had the experience that I've had, the story that you've mentioned, the first thought would be, oh well,
You were
she
high.
she yeah, she's got a
Yeah.
history of drugs, and this is just probably a relapse that she's kind of confused in
Exactly.
her own head, and so
Hmm.
on and so forth. But then at the same time, you know coming from a man's perspective, and I know we've spoken about this when I messaged and you, the Overcomer app um, that you put on your post, and I remember messaging you straight after, is the fact that for a man in 2025, especially with social media, it is one of the most difficult things to get away from.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm not a saint. I've watched porn, and I've gone down that route.
Hmm.
Um, and I've been to Amsterdam. I've not been in any rooms in Amsterdam, but you walk through the red light district and you see these naked ladies and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Um, but then, I kind of come to an age, and I'll follow a poll. I'll follow a page on. Is that the dog?
He's got a little
I
demon in him sometimes
I
too.
love it. But I'll follow a page that'll be like history facts,
Hmm.
because I'm a big history buff as well. And then all of a sudden that changes, and they're showing somebody twerking with their ass out, and
Yeah.
I'm like, how do I can't even get away from it when I'm
But that's
trying to.
like the whole thing is just like, that's why when I was making the videos for that app, I'm not under contract anymore with them, so I'm not going to be promoting them as much. But um
I mean, I wouldn't use it, but it is a good idea.
yes, my that's why I got on board with it, because it fit. Like a majority of my followers were subscribers, like to be 100% honest, and it's really beautiful to see the testimonies in my inbox all the time from the people that were subscribed to me, finding freedom
Mm.
from their porn addictions, because of my story, which is just so beautiful. But with when I was making the reels about that app, my the point that I would fall on a lot of the time, as a it's just to protect your gaze. It's just, you really have to clean up your feed, like reset your
Oh,
algorithm.
as soon as it happens, something like that, it was like, right, unfollow. I don't want to be on it. I don't want to
Yeah.
have that. But I think,
The spirit of lust and perversion comes in through that stuff, and it can be something so simple, and that's why when we're blind in the world and we're living for the world and we don't really know the truth, it's really difficult for us to discern this stuff.
mm,
And it's and me having gone through it and knowing the truth, it really, uh it makes me feel some type of way. Like I get so righteously angry at the kingdom of darkness for doing this to people,
I
you know.
think, yeah, righteously angry is a really good phrase to use, and I think I get similar coming from somebody who's the dad of a daughter, and
Hmm.
and I don't speak for everybody, but it's one of my biggest fears in terms of
Yeah.
this.
I could tell you a trick to not have to fear that if you want.
To be fair, she's clever enough. It's an
Just pray to
irrational fear.
Jesus. Say
It's
a prayer over her, read her the Bible.
it's very irrational. It is an
It's
irrational
okay.
fear.
I'll do it for you if you don't want
Thank you. I appreciate that. And
to.
I think that the problem is for me is the fact I see so people look at OnlyFans or a lot of the girls that or this is the way I perceive it. I'm not a girl. I don't think about it this way, but I kind of can look at a situation and discern an outcome. Is the fact that it's brought this sort of demonic practice within society as the norm. It's not looked upon as taboo anymore. Yeah, I remember being young and the porn magazines were on the top shelf of a newsagent and they were covered up, and it was like you didn't want to go in and you'd say, oh well, you go and buy it, I don't want to go and buy it, I don't want to go in and ask for this. And
Yeah, it was like that when you picked up anything from the
yeah,
sex section at
I
CVS.
I still get like it when if I want to go and buy condoms from a
Yeah,
supermarket.
that's
I'm
what I
like
was gonna say. I didn't
I
want to say it, but I was gonna
but
say
I it's one of thank the Lord for self checkout, so I don't have to go for the embarrassment of handing condoms to a cashier, and I think that that sort of bringing it into mainstream where
it becomes too normalized.
yeah it
It's
becomes
acceptable.
a career choice, and it's under the guise of independence and reclaiming women's
Cross
sexuality and
babe, yeah.
yeah
It's the
and it's
what did
just
Andrew Tate called it the final level of feminism or something.
well, and this is the thing. So, me and my mother have this conversation quite a bit. Is the fact that she's a woman. She has more authority to speak on feminism than I do, but she hates modern feminism in terms of the
Yeah,
fact that modern feminism seems to be more about let's see what we can get away with and demonize men at the same time. Whereas people like the suffragettes that fought for actual feminist rights of rights to vote, the equal rights to in society.
yeah.
Modern feminism has pushed it to the point of it's gone, in my opinion, and I think in hers as well. And she'll tell me if I get it wrong, but I'm pretty certain I'm right because we've had several conversations on this. Is it's gone too far, and too far to the point where it's now actually harmful for
Well,
women.
that's like my whole entire 10 hours on the whatever podcast. I was the
Yeah.
entire the entire panel was very young college girls. They were all liberal and feminist. One of them, I think, well, the oldest one that was at the table, and one other girl, they were kind of borderline, like not, but also not. Like it was just like they weren't in either. They weren't feminist or not. It was they were trying not to be feminists, but it was pretty clear that they had some issues going on. But it was very difficult. It was very difficult for me to sit at that table because liberals alone are very they're argumentative and they don't want to talk, they don't want to hear your side of things, and so whenever I would bring up something that went against what they believed to be true, it was just like how can I hurt you the most kind of. It wasn't
Yeah.
like, oh, I see your point. Like, no, it was like, you're wrong, we want a career, you don't have a career, you have a job, like.
and and it's just the thing is I just I don't understand, and I remember having a conversation with I won't mention her because she's probably got a lot more money than me and she could sue me if she wanted to, but she's quite well known, and she's a what's called a wag over in this country, which is a wife and girlfriend of a footballer, a soccer player, earns a lot of money, but
Oh, okay.
they have so for instance, it's kind of like what Taylor Swift is. She's married to a football player, isn't she, or
Okay, yeah, yeah,
something?
yeah.
I not that I'm a Taylor Swift fan, but my daughter did like her at one point.
I like Taylor Swift when she did country music. I don't like her
but
no more.
but I remember speaking to this woman, and she was lovely. I got on with her quite well, and she said I I think she's got a degree, and she said I could go and get a job, 70 grand a year,
Hmm.
or I I could get my tits out on a weekend and get 100 grand. So that's what I do. Because instead of getting £70,000 for a year, she goes on a topless shoot and gets more money. And
Mm-hmm.
that sort of, I kind of, don't get me wrong, I don't agree with it, but I can understand it.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's it's just that the fact that that's become normalized is really strange. If you, like I said, when we were
It's,
talking about sort of the hymns being cultish and looking at it objectively, it's a really surreal behavior. If you look at this objectively, that there's thousands and thousands and thousands of women that
Mhm.
might
Come on.
have
Come on.
10 followers or 10 subscribers that regularly get naked and do things online for everybody to see, and that's classed as
It's so
empowerment.
it's so accessible too now
Yes.
because of that. Like I feel like Pornhub, as a woman, you really have to reach out to people. It's a lot of work to get on Pornhub. I don't know how it works. Like I don't know how you become a porn star, you know. Maybe you can submit home videos. I really don't know.
Don't
But
have a clue. I
but
won't be doing that.
but as far as OnlyFans, anybody could do it. And I
Yeah.
actually like the even so the world is headed to some dark places, which is why I really hope that everybody seeks Jesus and knows his face and can discern right from wrong, good from evil, because this is AI is becoming a problem. We've got, and it's just like the whole normalization of this sinful act, right? Because sex
Mm.
was created and designed by God between a husband and a wife, one and one, not to be used with anybody else. There were no girlfriend, boyfriends in the Bible. And it is said that when you sleep with someone, your souls become connected, they become one. You are no longer two, you are one flesh. And so now we have like this, and that is why I believe it to be extremely satanic, because uh, the demons hate us and they hate all that God designed, and they're going to try and pervert it. And because sex is so um, enjoyable and it seems harmless, I feel like Satan is using that to his advantage. Like he tried with drugs. There was a epidemic there with heroin and fentanyl and all that for a few years, but not enough people will reach for a bag of heroin. Like there's
Yeah,
not,
it's not.
it's not,
Yeah.
you know what I
it,
mean?
yeah.
But a lot, like actually, I could probably say that everybody on the planet has probably either been tempted or engaged in some kind of masturbation or porn or
Yeah.
any of that. So he's using that to, move his agenda forward. So for me, I have people that have made fake OnlyFans is using like my content that they had purchased from me.
Mm.
It's all over Reddit and stuff, and then I also have people using AI to pretend to be me
Well, that
and stuff.
it's that. So you mentioned it in terms of like the sort of the danger or the danger that the path that we go down in terms of uh, I laughed, I smiled at the point when you mentioned about sex being something that is um it is sort of sacred, and
Good.
they've recently discovered at the moment of conception, when the sperm fertilizes the egg, there's a flash of light. I
Oh
don't
my
know whether
gosh,
you've seen the video. It's
that's so
amazing.
crazy. No, 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 no. We just talked about that in
Did
at
you?
revival last night. Yeah, the
And
apostle.
this is the thing, and so I've read the likeness to when God said, "Let there be light" at the beginning. This is the sort of moment of conception, and so on and so forth. It's really interesting when you look at it
Hmm.
in that sense. Um, and then I've got, obviously I got my show notes that what I've all the subjects, and we've probably got through about 10, and there's about 40, so I won't go through all 40 of them. But one of them is this sort of connection, and one of the words that or one of the practices, there's a book called Cupid's Poison Arrow,
Hmm.
which is centered around a practice called carezza. I don't know
Okay.
whether you've ever come across that word. So carezza is a practice of intercourse, which is all about, the goal isn't orgasm. The goal is to connect, and it's all about energy transfer, and it's all about, it's almost like tantra, but in terms of tantra being the ultimate orgasm at the end of it, this isn't the point. It's all about connection, and
Okay.
it um, and it's all about understanding that sacred ritual of sex isn't just an
Yeah.
act to
So, but like if
do.
you're not married and you're doing that, the only transferring of energy you're doing is demon exchange. I'm telling you that
Mm.
right now. It's demonic exchange. And you have a fiance, you're not married yet, so I'm not trying to
No,
convince
no, that's right,
you.
and that's the thing with belief is in terms of like when you mentioned about swearing, and I kind of get it, and I get
It's just
so
it's not
socially, it for me, it's the intent behind the swear word. A really well placed swear word can make me laugh my head off because it's perfect.
well, I
Billy,
used to do that too. I was a very humorous person,
yeah,
and I would use the swear words to emphasize the joke or something.
there's
Like, I get
well,
it.
this is it.
It's not,
There's
but
a
here's
clip
the
by
thing. Okay, go ahead.
Billy Connolly. If you've ever heard of Billy Connolly, he's a Scottish comedian, and he
Mm-mm.
does a little bit about the words. His favorite English word is "fuck off." And he's like, because in every single language, every single person knows exactly what "fuck off" means. It's not like, and it's really funny and comical, but there's no malice and there's no ill intent behind it. It's just like it's comical and it's loving. There's a real feel behind it, and I think that's from my perspective. If you use profanity in a negative sense, you could call somebody a giraffe in a negative sense, and it's still. Do you know what I mean? It could be classed as something negative.
I think so. This is so. It's difficult to explain because when you're a Christian and you're talking about these things and how the Holy Spirit has convicted you or you've grown in him or all that stuff, people even in Christianity that are still operating, what, by swearing and still listening to secular music and still wearing demonic t-shirts, like um it's never to condemn anybody or
Hmm.
tell anybody that, hey, this is right and this is wrong, or you should do this or you're going to hell, or whatever. That's never my heart on anything. It's just because I have had such a great experience with the Lord, and that I know his heart and I see through his eyes and I feel with his heart, that it's not like, oh, it wasn't like an order. It wasn't like, you can't swear. Like,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was like, Karina, you're better than that. If you're gonna follow the Lord, you better not swear. That wasn't
yeah.
how that's not how it went. It was just like, I didn't feel it necessary for swears to leave my mouth anymore, because
Yeah, yeah.
I always want the love of Jesus and life to come out of my breath. So it's just like that. But then you have, so we'll go back to, sorry, I'm fiddling with my microphones over
It's okay. Don't worry. I think like going back to the sort of the idea and
of it
practice of
being
sex in
acceptable,
terms,
right?
yeah, I get it in terms of sex before marriage within Christianity is not necessarily well,
But it's
it's
it's not
frowned
even
upon, but
it's not even just Christianity. It's just it's the word of God. It says it.
yeah, I get it, and it I
and
understand it, but
and
I
because
think
of what,
if
yeah,
we
go ahead.
lose if we lose, and I think it's because we've lost that connection
Mm-hmm.
and lost that ritualistic. It's a practice that is so taken so lightly
Mm-hmm.
nowadays, when in fact it's
We've gotten very far away from it because
yeah.
we used to wait. We used to wait until marriage and stuff. And now it's just like, we're gonna get our body count as high as possible
Ugh,
before we
I
get
hate
together
that. I hate
somewhere.
that term. And it's that sort of if you get to 20 years old and you haven't had a one night stand, then there's something wrong with you. It's
Yeah,
what
which
what
is a
you
problem. But
which
so,
is not normal. Yeah.
which I mean, and then you have like, so with it being so acceptable is kind of, how do I explain this? It's just off-putting. Like, there's something about OnlyFans and the openly sexualize everything now that has to give you a weird gut feeling. Like, it's not
Mm,
like, I grew up going to the mall being modest. Like if you said something or did something inappropriate, like you'd be talked to. Like they had the X movies, but they were all behind us like door. We couldn't go in. And now you can go to like CVS. They have a whole section of like just everything you can get. But it's just too normalized, and it's kind of disgusting in my opinion. And the fact that people have now believe that it's okay to be on an airplane and make content in the bathroom is just weird. And so, like, I have a story. I actually have a couple stories, but like when I was doing like the OnlyFans thing, there was a group of girls that I was hanging out with and making content with for a little bit there. A couple of them I didn't really like because their identity had become OnlyFans and they were very difficult to be around. But one of the girls, she was nice. She was like me, more so. But they had posted a video of them at the mall, right? The mall where children are present and
Mm,
families are present. They were in the elevator. The elevator was one of those clear ones in the center of the mall, like see through. It was made of glass. And they were all twerking with their little skirts on, in like with their butts facing the glass. And I looked at this video and I was just like, there's children everywhere
yeah,
around you. Like, is that like hello? And it's just disgusting to me. Like that's why when I had an OnlyFans, you could meet me at the grocery store and you would never know. You would never know
yeah.
that I had one.
I
um
th- I think it is the difficult thing where I don't think you can put the genie back in the bottle. I it almost becomes insurmountable to the point where before before OnlyFans, I there was a possibility that sort of it could have been stopped or guarded in terms of and I'm not one for telling people no, you can't look at porn, you can't do that. Each to their own. It's
hmm
I, the whole thing that really pisses me off, especially about living in the UK at the minute. And forgive me, UK government, I don't want to be locked up for saying anything on media or anything, but it's like the government overreach of like, get out of my life. I am an adult. I can decide what I want to do as long as I'm not harming anybody else or
hmm
causing any distress to the system or whatever. Leave me alone. I don't need. There's a new law been passed. So at places like Nando's, you used to get free refills on your drink. Now that's illegal. You're not allowed because of like
Is it a
it should.
misdemeanor? Do you
Oh,
get
honestly, it's
arrested?
crazy. Like the people, you're not allowed. You're not allowed to do it. It's against the law because it's tackling obesity. And the fact of the matter is like
That's
nobody.
wild.
Oh, like Ricky Gervais puts it perfectly. I love his bit on it. It's like nobody gets fat behind their own back. Nobody wakes up one morning and goes, "Oh my god, where did all this come from?" It's a gradual process,
Yeah,
and people aren't eating McDonald's and eating fried chicken thinking, "Oh, this is healthy for me." This is better than going to the gym. They
yeah.
do it consciously and knowingly. If I want two sugary drinks, whether that be Coca, I don't drink Coca Cola anymore. I don't do it thinking, "Oh, this is better for me than water." I'm an adult. I've made a conscious decision that that's what I want to
Yeah.
drink. Same as with alcohol. I mean, I'm sober now 5 years. I haven't touched a drop of alcohol. I haven't
Hey,
touched
good job. Praise the
caffeine.
Lord.
Yeah, well, it came out of nowhere. To be fair,
Yeah, because the Lord
but
is intentional.
you know what? I'll tell you when it happened. It happened on a weekend of drinking, on a hockey tour because I play hockey, and it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You generally drink. I woke up on the Sunday. I was like, "That's it. I'm done. I've done this for 17 years. I've got drunk every weekend, and I've had a couple of beers of an evening and it was like, I'm bored now. This is boring. I don't want to do it anymore." And I haven't
Yeah.
touched the drops. I haven't touched the drop since.
Oh,
And I think,
thank you,
but
Jesus.
that's my choice. And if somebody does want to drink, what business is it of mine to tell them that you
Yeah.
can't do that? Um,
Mhm.
and I think with
So
with going back to the point
yeah.
of the sort of OnlyFans and so on and so forth is, I don't think. I'm not sort of saying nobody can ever watch porn again or
Yeah.
masturbate or anything, but
Well,
when it starts interfering in
society,
society, that's when it
cultural
becomes a
norms.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
and it's it.
I was on a flight. I was going to SEMA, which is the really big um, car and truck automotive show that happens in Las Vegas? I think it's Las Vegas. But anyway, I was going there last year and yeah, it was before my baptism but after salvation, so it was like in between. It was like yeah, on the plane I sat next to two people. On the left, I had a very angry lady. Like, she was so mad. Like, the flight was delayed and she was just so mad about it. And I'm like, you need to relax because that's not how we do things.
Yeah,
We're not,
it's not going to change anything.
not going to change literally anything. You're still going when the plane wants to leave. But the lady next to me on the other side, she had the window seat. She put a blanket in her lap and she was literally masturbating right next to me the
Oh
whole
my god,
with the phone under the blanket. So
it's
I yeah. So I'm like, is this like the normal that we're leading into now because of all of this OnlyFans propaganda? Like,
and that is, the word propaganda is thrown about left, right, and center, and that is it, ultimately what it is. The fact that it's so readily available to everybody and anybody on a device, on a phone device.
yeah.
Everybody's got a phone. Everybody's got access to it, whether it be OnlyFans
But
or anything else.
if that was a guy, they'd be arrested and thrown in federal prison by now. Like, so I'm
Yeah.
just like, this is so crazy. Like, I don't understand. I just don't understand. It's extremely demonic and it needs to just stop. Like, I'm pro banning porn, like at this point, because you got nobody on earth right now can keep it together. Like,
Yeah. No,
you
I
need a
mean,
break.
your own president is slept with a porn star, and it's
Yeah.
like when the leader of the free world digs porn stars, you need to have sort of a serious word.
Yeah.
Politicians are meant to be boring leaders that actually know what they're doing with the world, not these mavericks that sort of just run around sleeping with porn stars and doing what the fuck they want. So to sort of round this all off, it's been awesome speaking to you. What's your legacy and what's your purpose moving forward then? So obviously you've gone through this amazing journey, which is is amazing. It is astounding, and I'm so happy that you've made it through it. Regardless of whether I'm religious and believe in Jesus
Well,
or
after this
whatever, I'm
conversation, I planted a lot of seeds, boy.
I I am happy that you've made it through it, and I think it is testament to the the part religion can play in people's lives. Very much so, because like I said at the beginning, you've got that T junction. In one route is drugs, OnlyFans, demonic, and then one route's religion. There's
You know, it's
at the end of
crazy
each of them.
because even though I know what I know and I have the truth in my heart and I've been through all this stuff and I have like so many more smaller testimonies I could share about like how God showed me that he exists throughout this past year, but like it's a lot. But he definitely saw like he made my foundation hit the rock, like the cornerstone. Um, but there are still days where I will be like, even though I know the truth, right? I'll be like, there's like there's a person in the sky. Like I'll be like, kind of weird. But I have
Yeah, I
I
I
have to
get it.
yeah. So I just have to rebuke it because I know the truth, but sometimes it'll hit me or I'll feel like I'm in a video game or something and I'll just have this like really existential crisis of time and space and I'm like, what is actually going on?
I think if you don't have that, then you're not really having the full human experience, are
Yeah.
you? You need to be having that
Well,
full that existential
so
crisis.
the coolest part about that sleep paralysis thing I was talking to you about is like now that the demon's been casted out, I don't get attacked in that way anymore. But demons can still come into your dreams even if you've been delivered. They can that's kind of why the Lord wants to sit with you and have you read the word and hear him audibly and know his signs, because if you rely only on the dreams, they can be distorted
Mm.
if a demonic influence comes in. But because I was like, I've been sitting with the Holy Spirit and reading the Word and learning about these things. I've actually been able to navigate my dreams while I'm sleeping now,
Oh,
where
cool.
yeah, it's really cool, and it gives me a lot of discernment in life choices that I need to make. Like with the apartment, I was trying to find an apartment. The Lord
Oh,
sent
I
me.
saw that. I saw that post. Yeah, because
Yes, and
it,
that dream actually helped me on this path to find the real apartment, which I move into this week. But it's cool because I can, in my dreams, I'll be awake and I can actually dictate, like some of them, not all of them, but like I
yeah,
can dictate like what is going to happen. Like if I discern something's not right, I'll start praying in the dream, and it's just and it's not like a dream, like it's you think I'm dreaming, right? But I'm actually consciously awake doing this, and
yeah.
it's
It's lucid dreaming.
really cool.
It's really yeah.
Yeah,
I've read a few books, and there is a technique to be able to learn how to do it. However,
Jesus.
I haven't got the I haven't got the
Holy
dedication to do
Spirit.
it. To
You
to
know,
be fair, my
I have been, after this my whole life, like I was so involved with Reiki and all that jazz because I just wanted to be able to, astral project or whatever and transport in my dreams and do all this cool stuff. And at the end of the day, all I needed was Jesus.
so obviously you've now been put on a brand new path,
Yes.
and you are doing better than ever.
Mhm.
Um, what's the future for Karina? What are you wanting to do? What are you hoping to achieve with Jesus now being on your side
There's a lot.
and being
My
with you?
my my dreams are big. The Lord
There's
has
no
sent me many visions.
dreams are meant to be big.
They're huge. They're not small. There's no small dreams over here. um the Lord has sent me visions of what I'm called to do for him. It has to do a lot with traveling and revivals. Like I've had visions of me on stage with a microphone preaching, stuff like that. What my apostle does, he travels the world and does these deliverance, healing, and prophecy revival events, and I do believe that that is my call, is to do the same thing that he's doing. But I also have other things that keep that have rotated through my mind and different ideas, because ultimately OnlyFans is and drug addiction. Those two things are where my deliverance areas are the strongest, and that I'd be able to, impact the
Mm.
strongest with time, of course. Nala Ray, she found Jesus at 1.7 million followers, so she's a little ahead of the game. But I gotta work my way up there. The Lord will do it. He is faithful. But I would really like to, because of what happened with me, I would like to be able to find a way to make leaving OnlyFans easy and take away the
Mm.
financial burden off of the women. Because I ended up, I mean, I had to accept the fact that I would be homeless for a little while to delete it. So it was just like, but I had that relationship with God to trust Him. So I was like, let's do this. Because this is going to be the catalyst to help somebody else. So I'm glad, I would gladly walk this out to save someone else later. But I want to be able to prevent that from being the deciding factor of people of women not stopping.
I know we were winding down, and I just want to touch on that point is because I completely forgot of one of my 40 points that I wanted to speak to you about. But
You only got to like 2 points, I think.
I know it reminded me of the documentary The Unseen Chains that you are kind of
Yes,
involved with
yes.
now, because you were talking about the fact that the finance and the money element of OnlyFans kind of keeps it kept you in there longer than what
Yeah, I
you
mean, what
would have
other
been.
job really that, like, to make, like, Sophie Rain made 4 million a month or something crazy like
Right.
that. There's no, what else are you gonna do to make that? And
And at the same time, it's almost it's unskilled. It's not like you have to have a PhD. You don't have to
Yeah,
have sort of
exactly.
any sort of intelligence to be able to. Not saying that you're not intelligent, but you know what I mean. It's not like you don't have to have any skill in terms of you don't have to be
Yeah.
able to work with wood and be able to sort of create a chair or anything along those lines. It's if you are good looking and you are sort of pretty,
Mhm.
it's easy to sort of
You do need some kind of business ethics. Like you need to know how to work and operate a business, and also a lot of social media skills. You need to understand and how to break down Instagram and TikTok. Now I taught all myself all of that stuff.
mm.
um, I actually did go to college twice. I never graduated, but I get to biochemistry, and I'm like, okay, bye. I'll see you later. But you need some kind of, so OnlyFans, the average girl like make that just decides like I'm gonna make an OnlyFans. The average amount of money they make is between 140 and 180 a month.
Wow. So it's the thing is that for that the cost is pretty high.
Yeah, I mean the
Um,
cost is high regardless, but it's definitely not
True.
gonna be worth like for 140 bucks. I have one girl on my page. She's gonna hope I don't know. Well, I have one girl on my page, and she's like, I'm thinking about deleting mine because I can't make anything above $120 a month. And I'm like, girl, that's because you should delete it. Like I don't
Yeah.
know, like $120 a month is not worth making yourself look crazy online and
Mm.
try like it's just, and by crazy I mean like they're literal thirst traps, and sometimes if you're not very good at them they can look a little cringy. Like it's just it's sad. And whether it's 140 or 4 million, the cost is the same. It's your soul. But I think the detrimental factor, like the guilt and the shame, is going to be more intense on someone that's making 140 than it is on
Yeah.
4 million. Because at
Well,
least with 4 million, you can be like, well, I have a
that
Bugatti, you know?
that's it. It's the age old thing of like,
Yeah.
I'd rather cry in a Ferrari than in a Ford Escort,
Yeah,
and I
exactly.
kind of get that, but at the same time, the cost is still the same. It's just the compensation that comes with that cost is
Yeah.
a little bit better than it is. So yeah, so that Unseen Chains documentary, when's that due for release? Because I'd be interested in that.
I think
Do you
they
know?
said it should be finished with the editing by like May next year. So I'm assuming next year at some point, maybe the fall.
Yeah.
Um, I'm
Well,
I did my part in there, but I was just like so nervous that I've had anxiety the whole time. Like our conversation right now has been way more natural than the one with them. Although I will say that the questions that they were asking were a little more difficult because they needed like the whole movie, the whole documentary is about sex trafficking and how common it is.
yeah,
So I had to really get deep with like my own personal experiences through my drug addictions, this guy with the cocaine back when I was a prostitute like 10 years ago. So I had to get deep with that stuff, and I think it made me a little nervous. Plus they were asking me questions about my childhood. Like I
yeah.
literally hate that. Like I don't remember.
No, but
There's not one thing I remember about my childhood.
this is the thing. It's like when people talk about childhood, and like if you would have met me as a child and you'd have met me now, you wouldn't have tethered the two. Like I was a geeky little kid. There's a picture of me somewhere, and I luckily Facebook and everything
Oh, that's
wasn't
so cute.
invented.
Um,
I
I'm
w- I
I'm the same. I'm the
I
same
had
now as I was when I was 5.
I had curly hair, like almost like an 80s bob, and I had a green turtleneck on. It was horrible. I remember that picture being taken. It was taken by a professional photographer as well, so it was like so staged. Um, Now you look at that, but if you ever saw that picture, and in comparison to what I am now, which is like bald beard, I like borderline hippie, then it's like. chalk and cheese. You wouldn't ever discern that that would happen. So when everybody talks about childhood, it's bollocks in my opinion. I don't believe it. It doesn't work. Like life happens between childhood and now, and it's
Yeah.
life that
Like a
makes you
lot
the
of
way that you
people
are.
will say that if you don't remember your childhood, that means there was a lot of trauma
Yeah,
involved.
yeah.
I don't, I mean, I know my parents yelled a lot, but I don't remember really much things happening. But
Everybody's mum and dad yells.
yeah,
Everybody's parents yells. Everybody in a relationship yells because newsflash, it's difficult to live with somebody 24/7,
yes.
and you get pissed off with the stupidest
Right.
little things.
Yeah.
Um, so
And
yeah,
so
it's like
when they asked me those questions, like they had asked me that for they were like, "How was your childhood growing up?" Like, blah blah blah. I'd be like, "Well, I don't remember it." Like, and then they're like, "Well, was there trauma?" And then I'd have to like make up some trauma that I remember. Well, I do remember. I remember a couple things. Like one time, leaving the fair, my parents got into a fight, and my dad kicked my mom out of the car and left her there. Like I remember that. Like, but they
yeah,
he eventually went back and picked her up. So it
it's
was,
uh, but that's it. Everybody has like you're allowed to have that. So like you said, we're human.
I
We're allowed
remember
to
my
have
little
that sort of
brother throwing
failure.
up his go-gurt on the way to go fishing once too. Like I
But that
remember some things, but it wasn't a bad time. So when they ask me that stuff, I'm just like, yeah, I mean, I love my parents very much. What do you mean?
yeah, but and I appreciate the fact that the way I conduct sort of these episodes and speak to people. One, I only invite people on that I find interesting and I really think have a story. Like every single person that has been on or is coming on is somebody that I really want to speak to. It's
Mhm.
not ever done for the gram or anything along those
Yeah.
lines. It's always somebody that's like, wow, this person's got something to say and really interesting. And like we've discussed, I'm not overly religious in that sense, but I still find your story compelling to the point where I'm interested in it. Um,
Amen. Thank you, Jesus.
and and I think that's the factor is if if we can have that conversation and we can have that sort of open dialogue about why the state of the world
Mhm.
is the way it is and why we think things like OnlyFans are detriment to it, whether it be down to money, whether it be down to drugs, whether it be down to trafficking or anything or all three
Yeah.
at the same time, which is likely is. Why can't we have that open dialogue? Why can't leaders of countries, instead of bickering about, you know, some crap who this illegal immigrant's taking all your money. No, that's another sort of story where they're actually not. If you actually follow the money trail, um, why can't we have a look at the cause of societal decay, which is things like OnlyFans, things like money wise, social corruption with civil service and government and politics, and things like OnlyFans. There's a reason why that society is bonkers and it's crazy. Um, and if you go back to 1990, 2000s, early 2000s, everything was sort of still relatively normal. And ever since then, it's just gone a little bit bonkers and a little bit mad. Um, yeah, I think you've hit the sort of you're doing really good work, and you would say God's work. I'd say you're doing sort of blessed work in terms of
By God.
showing 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 the true side and the true nature of something that needs to be shown.
Yeah.
So I commend you for that, and I thank you for that, especially coming from a father's perspective. I think it's so important. I'll amplify your message as much as I possibly can do.
Mhm.
Um, and thank you. I'd love to have you back on next year. Maybe see what you've got up to, see if you've managed to do some preaching, and
Yeah.
you can then catch up with me and see if you've managed to convert me with the seeds that you've been dropping
Oh,
throughout
I
this
have
interview.
faith. You know what? You're Christian now, like as of 5 minutes ago. Jesus already did it, so I'll see you. I'll see you at your baptism. I can't wait to hear the testimony.
Thank you very much, Karina.
All
Thank you
right.
very much.
Yes,
I'll see
thank
you
you.
later.
Bye.
See you later, everybody. Bye bye.